Well, good Monday morning, everybody. Good Monday morning. Hope you're doing well this morning. It is Monday morning, October the 17th of the year 2022. So if you're watching this years from now you know when we did this video. So good to see everybody this morning. Hope you're doing well. It's a good morning. It's a crisp morning. It's going to be cold tonight. I heard there's going to be temperatures down in the 20s and 30s. What? This is only October. We don't get this kind of weather that early here in Tennessee, but apparently we do. So good to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. Here we are picking back up in our new study, Daniel number 4. Daniel number 4. Daniel chapter number 4 is where we're parking at for the next couple days. So we'll see you for the next couple days here on Daniel chapter 4. All right. So let's dig into this just a little bit. And first, I want to tell you a remarkable conversion experience occurred, and I don't know if it was reported in mainstream media, but it's the story of the conversion of Saddam Hussein. Yeah. Now we're aware that for many months he was, he hid and he ran from place to place, and he was trying to avoid capture. And we saw when they found him down in a hole, and he was brought up out of the hole. He kind of looked like an animal, really. And it looked as if he'd been living like an animal, and he was on the run like an animal, but he was captured. So out of that experience has come a remarkable conversion. His conversion testimony is that he indeed was living like an animal and not like a man. And for many years in his life, he was beastly in nature, but he had remarkable experience where God brought him very, very low. And the result of having been brought low down to the level of an animal, he lifted his eyes to heaven and acknowledged that the God of heaven is the true God. And he received the Lord Jesus Christ in his heart and in his life. And that was what a glorious conversion that was. Now, is that not an amazing story? It's a stunning story, isn't it? But it's not a true story. I made that story up. So you probably already suspected that. But that story that I just told, it is really no more stunning than the story of the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel. And there was a prior leader in Iraq, the king of Babylon, known in the Bible as King Nebuchadnezzar. And he was the ancient world's counterpart of what we consider Saddam Hussein. Not consider, but who was Saddam Hussein. So when we read the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel, it was a personal testimony about how Nebuchadnezzar was converted and how he became a changed man. And as a matter of fact, this whole 4th chapter is really his personal testimony. It's a testimony to the greatness and the wonders of God. And as you read this testimony, you're going to see the work of God in the life of a man. And you're going to see this remarkable series of events which God used to bring Nebuchadnezzar to faith in the true God. Now, what you have in Daniel chapter 4 is what might be called a personal testimony booklet. Okay. And he's using it to distribute to tell the whole world. Now, there's 3 parts to this booklet. The opening verses are the preface, okay, where he gives praise and he gives thanksgiving unto the Lord. Now, if you've been saved, friends, you ought to give a testimony about it. Romans chapter 11, verse 33 says this: "Oh, the depths of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out." Now, Psalm 66, verse 16 says, "Come and hear, all ye that fear God, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul." Now, if you've had any conversion experience, then you ought to have a testimony. You ought to be able to tell somebody about it. Now, this booklet begins with a preface, and then in verses 4 right through most of the chapter, he gives us the proclamation, the testimony of his salvation. Okay. So he closes with verse 37, which he says, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth and his ways judgment. Those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. And he closes out with kind of a postscript, so to speak. And he's praising God at the postscript of that, right? So let's think about this marvelous conversion experience of Nebuchadnezzar. It truly has to be one of the greatest and really most unusual conversion experiences that's recorded um, in the work of God. Right? It revolves around a dream. Okay, so it revolves around a dream. So let's dig into that just a little bit. Okay, the first thing we're going to see is that the dream is received. Okay, the dream is received. Nebuchadnezzar gets a rather amazing dream. So if you look at the setting in verse 4, he says, I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. So now what's he saying? The battles are over. The army has surrounded and put protection around the city of Babylon. He's walking in his palace. He's content. He's secure. And quite frankly, he's very prosperous. So in these days when things seem to be going well, we're told that he saw a dream that made him afraid. He said, I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. He had a dream, and God's been working in the life of Nebuchadnezzar, and we read about him beginning in chapter 1. And we see him in chapter 2 when God revealed to him a great image. And then in chapter 3, as he built this golden image to himself, right? And the experience of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Through all of this, God was doing something in the heart of this man, Nebuchadnezzar. So, see, God has a way, God has ways of working. God has his ways of bringing people to the moment of conversion. He said, I saw a dream that made me afraid. Now, the word afraid means, extreme terror. He was just terrified, completely terrified. So it's as if God kind of reached into his bag of terrors and brought out this terrifying dream into the heart of Nebuchadnezzar. So God has his ways of getting your attention. Now, you don't ever get in a palace so opulent or so protected that God is not able to break through. Verse 6 says this, therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. So here he is, calls the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers. And he says, I told them the dream, but they didn't make known unto me the interpretation thereof. So again, remember, he's brought the experts in before, and the experts, they just couldn't bring an answer. So then he brought his brain trust in again, and it seems he would have learned his lesson, right? Remember, again, back in the second chapter, when he had a dream, brought in all the experts. He about ready to wipe them all out. So you'd think he'd have learned, but here he is again, same sources. And it's the way people do today, don't they? We try to solve the problems of life, and we look for answers to our great dilemmas and great fears that we experience, but we go to the same sources. It's as if it's interesting. We go to the same places. We go to the same secular psychiatrists. We turn to the politicians. We turn to talk show hosts. Friends, they don't have the answers to the deepest problems in the human heart or the human experience. Now it says in verse 8, it says, but at the last, the very last, right? Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him, I told the dream, saying, O Belshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen and the interpretation thereof. So now he's bringing in Daniel. Daniel's by now, he's a very trusted counselor. And as you read this story and see Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel, it seems that Daniel really did love this old crusty sinner, right? Daniel kind of developed a real love for this man and how he must have prayed that he might come to the Lord. See, there was a man who had the answer, and there was a man who understood the meaning of the dream. And there's people in this world who have answers from God. Those who know the Lord know the answers to the deepest needs of the human heart. They know the answers to the deepest needs of the human existence, right? See, Daniel doesn't have to do any bragging because Nebuchadnezzar brags on Daniel. So he says 3 times in this chapter that the spirit of the holy gods is in him. Now, of course, he's using the language of a pagan. He does not understand the spiritual language, but it's a language which he understands himself. He's saying that there's something different about this man, Daniel. So he's using the vocabulary that he knows. He's using what he knows, right? So by the young people, men and ladies, whether you are going to school or into the business world or a particular social setting, if Christ is in your life, you really won't have to say a whole lot about it. People will discover that the Lord is in your life. And people will turn to you in hours of trouble, and they'll be coming to you in the depths of their needs, right? In the deepest needs of their lives. So he tells about the dream in verses 10 and following. Well, the thing that was so disturbing about this dream was that he saw this dream of a great tree that was cut down. And I want you to notice the words move from it to his. Nebuchadnezzar discovers that the tree represents him and that God is talking about him. He's a great king. He's a mighty man. Now he's met his match. And God says, Nebuchadnezzar, I'm going to cut you down. And that is what is so disturbing about the dream. That was his dream. Wow, what a dream, right? Well, tomorrow, we're going to find out what that dream has in store. I know today's a little short and tomorrow will be a little short time together. But tomorrow we're going to find out what the dream revealed. Okay. Well, friends, it's been, I'll start all over again. It's been a delight to be with you today. Hey, have a great day today, but be safe in all that you do. Know that I love you. And by all means, share the precious gospel of Jesus Christ with those around you. Jesus Christ saves. Jesus saves. Now, there's a lot of folks that may be watching this and they say, I don't understand that. By all means, contact me. My email, pastor@rrbconline.com. You can email me. And I'd be more than happy to contact you and explain to you what it is to be saved. Amen. So share that precious gospel around today. Be safe tonight. Be warm tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Until then, have a delightful day. See you tomorrow.